Hello, and welcome to the Handsome Phantom Podcast, your weekly video game podcast about all things video games related, a little bit of funny banter, and sometimes New Year's Eve or New Year's resolutions. You're probably wondering, why is David starting the show and not the normal sultry tones of Ben. Ben's a little bit under the weather today, so I've stepped in to take over the hosting duties. I'm going to talk a little bit more, so I apologize in advance because no one wants to hear me talk more than I normally do. And Brandon can't host because he can't go 3 sentences without saying something awful about single mothers. So, by power of deduction, I am your host of the Handsome Phantom Podcast, hosted by the three led by the 3 most beautiful boys you see every single week. Ben, how are we doing? In as few words as possible.
I'm doing okay. No, I can talk okay. I just sound horrible. So it doesn't strain me or hurt me to talk. It just sounds bad. Dave, when you were saying about how you were hosting to help me out, I think really you were just covering up that you're pushing me out of the spot. And the thing about Brandon, you said by power of deduction, because he says horrible things. I thought you were going to say by power of attorney, we have relieved Brandon from ever hosting the show.
Yeah. No, we relieve Brandon in other ways, but no, you sound good. You sound like kind of molasses, kind of.
Oh,
flowing.
good.
It's like audible chocolate.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's just a little bit deeper, and it's kind of making me feel certain ways. But I hope you're feeling better soon. Nonetheless, I know stuff's going around.
Yeah, well, here's the really interesting thing. Like, I feel mostly fine now. I was pretty rough for a few days. My voice is still, goofy and everything. But the weird thing is that when I woke up this morning, my ear and whole side of my face hurt. And I realized, it's like sinus, whatever. But my ear has been so messed up today that everything sounds weird and I can hardly hear out of it sometimes. And when I can hear out of it, like I was listening to something today and there was music on it. And the music, I was like, why is this music out of tune? And then I put my earphone, I just took the left one out and just kept the right one in. I'm like, it's not. So even like the whatever fluid or whatever's in my ear is making things out of tune, not just muffled. It's bizarre. I looked it up. It's a real thing. I didn't think it was. I thought I was imagining it, but here we are.
Sinuses are weird. That's for sure. Yeah. Speaking of weird sinuses, Brandon, you dodged the early evening Tuesday nap. Thank you for joining us. How are you doing today, my friend?
Yeah, good. Ben, the AIDS is finally catching up to you. Oh, jeez.
This is just phase 1, buddy. Just wait till I get my superpowers.
Dude, I can hook you up. My boy Magic Johnson got that shit on lockdown now.
The cure is money.
No, nobody does it like Magic does it. Yeah, we dodged the nap today. What we've not dodged in the past week is sleeping on the couch. I think out of the past 7 days, I've slept on the couch at night. Maybe 5 of those. So it's been pretty good. Honestly, it's not been too bad. Last night, I only woke up an hour before my alarm, which was fortunate because I hadn't set it. I'm one of those psychotic people that sets their alarm every night instead of just having it auto. And they say, well, Brandon, you wake up at the same time every day. Just do it. And I don't know. I don't like that. I like to be able to do it every night.
But you just have the one alarm, or are you one of those people who's got like one alarm every 3 minutes?
No. I have about 1 million alarms. Okay. Because for the first 30 minutes, I hear the first one, and that's like a get you out of REM sleep, right? I turn that off without fail every single time. Like, I don't wake up to the first one. And then I proceed to turn off the auxiliary ones that are in between when I actually wake up and the 15 usually, and go back to sleep. And then there's tier layers of oh shit alarms progressively until the you need to actually just walk out of the door alarm. So yeah, people that set one alarm and just wake up, how do you do it?
Psychotic, sociopaths.
Actual psychopaths, yeah.
How do you do it? Do you love your job? Do you love life? Why do you want to be awake? Because I enjoy the nothingness of sleep, and I wish I could do it my entire life. Some say, Brandon, you can. There's many ways you could do it. People have done it for centuries. Yeah, I'm here. Welcome, boys. I'm not going to get too off subject here because we got a really important show ahead of us today. I'm very excited about today, and I'm very excited Dave is hosting. It kind of between the sexy voice of Ben and getting to hear a little bit more Davy Wavy Baby, I'm kind of there's something touching the desk and it ain't my leg.
Nice.
So it's my other leg. So I don't know what you guys were saying, but
Yeah.
welcome, boys. Welcome, gentlemen. Welcome.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, regardless of who's hosting what and why and when, you're going to hear all three of us. And yeah, Brandon, as you pointed out, this is kind of a special show. We're going to be getting into our resolutions, our gaming resolutions, and we'll just for anybody who might be new, we'll go into a little bit of detail of what that is later in the show. But a little bit of housekeeping first. Handsome Phantom Podcast, you can catch us every Tuesday night live on youtube.com/Ben is Handsome. We go live 7 o'clock Eastern time. If Brandon's not having a nap, it might be slightly later if he does decide to have a nap. Audio listeners, you can find us wherever you get podcasts. Ad-free access can be found at through our patreon.com/handsomephantom. If you'd like to support us, there's things we need to pay for occasionally, usually hosting fees, sometimes pizza. But we have bills
One
to
time,
pay.
it's one time pizza,
That happened once. Yeah.
like 4 years ago. Yeah.
Exactly. And if you like what you hear and you'd like to support us, then we really appreciate that. We've also got a really cool community, and sometimes people in our community like to engage with us or make fun of us or just, talk to us about things other than video games. And you can do that too if you're just as sadistic as those people. So handsomephantom.com/discord. It's completely free. Anybody can join. It's a really good little community. It's not one of those discords where it's like impossible to keep up with because there's so many people there, which is something I like about it. So if you're not already there, we'd love to see you there. We also have a live chat over on YouTube, and we have some comments here. Ben, you might have to help me with this, but Hulk Hogan, I see some $4.99. Did we just receive a donation?
That is a super chat.
The first super chat of the
Yeah,
show, boys.
that's the first
Holy
live super
shit.
chat we've ever got. Yeah.
Oh my god, dude, this is a monumental.
Gotten donations and stuff before, but I don't think we've ever gotten a super chat.
Not
Thank you.
live on YouTube.
Hulk
Thank
Hogan
you.
for that.
Much love, HH.
And Hulk Hogan, Ben and his 24-inch pythons will slam that illness into the middle of the ring, Jack.
It's true.
Of course.
True.
Very good.
True.
It's the only thing that's 24 inches about me.
Hey yo.
That's not really. I mean, I'm not really tearing myself down. That would be unnaturally large penis, right? Like
That
we
would
could-
just be damaging.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll leave it at that. Yes, Ryan in chat. Yes, Ryan. I have played Hunter Call of the Wild. I played like 60 or 70 hours of that game, I think. A lot of hours. You can kind of get lost in the woods, so to speak, in that game. So
I don't have near that many hours. But
Do you and Ryan just want to have a conversation now? And Ben
yeah,
and I
hit
can
me
leave.
up. Hit me up, Ryan. I'll add you to the call.
Well, believe it or not, we do have some news that we're going to cover this week. So let's jump right into it. And we're jumping into one of our favorite subjects, which is Assassin's Creed Shadows, is delayed. Again, this is the second delay. This comes via Twitter or X, and it's a post directly from the Assassin's Creed official accounts. Dear players, we want to extend our heartfelt thanks to our incredible fans and dedicated teams for your unwavering support since our announcement in September to further refine and polish Assassin's Creed Shadows. Since November, we've been thrilled to share our progress through gameplay overviews, and the overwhelming excitement has truly inspired us. Each week has brought valuable feedback from our community. While we've already made remarkable strides, we believe a few additional weeks are needed to implement that feedback and ensure an even more ambitious and engaging day one experience. Here's the big part. Accordingly, the new release date is March 20th, 2025. Just to recap, the date had been moved to February 14th, 2025. So a little more than a month's difference. We remain committed to delivering a high-quality, immersive experience fostered by ongoing dialogue between our players and development teams. We know you're eager to learn more about Assassin's Creed Shadows, and we're excited to share that more updates will be coming to you very soon. Assassin's Creed Shadows, it's set in feudal Japan. This was kind of the setting that people have been requesting from the Assassin's Creed franchise for a long, long time. Highly anticipated, I suppose, but the Assassin's Creed franchise, a lot of people kind of see it as a lot like Ubisoft, sort of on the downhill. So Boys, what do we think about this? Is this a case of there were or are substantial issues in the game, or are they just trying to ensure that they really get this right on launch day? Or is this just a fiscal decision? We have to think about the shareholders. Ben, what are your thoughts off the bat?
I think it could be any of those, frankly. I think one thing is that Ubisoft is on thin ice, it seems. Their share prices have fluctuated pretty dramatically. There's lots of reports of turmoil at the studios. The wrong thing could set them a very dangerous path or continue them down that very dangerous path. The very right thing could turn that around. Assassin's Creed, love it or hate it, or somewhere in between, is one of their biggest franchises ever. Like, there's been games since 2004, 5, somewhere in there, a long time. And we've got a lot of them. And even though some of us are kind of getting tired of them, just because, you play the same thing for 20 years, you're going to get tired of it maybe eventually. There's still a bunch of people who play these games, who buy these games. So if it's not perfect or very near it, then I think it could spell disaster for them. Now, the other thing is, a flip side to that, I don't know how accurate any of this is because I don't really engage in the culture war BS. But I know there's a lot of conversation about, well, the characters you're showing off are not historically accurate. I don't know if that's true or not, but we have seen an impact from these groups that are like seeking out games that they don't agree with them. I don't understand how politically, but politically or otherwise, excuse me. And they are doing damage to them financially. So it could be a matter of they actually did need to refine some things on that end, and they kind of bowed to that crowd. I'd say I put more money, I'd put my money on them wanting to make sure they made the most amount of money. I don't think it has anything to do with other releases or anything like that. Like I've heard some people suggest. I would say whether it's just that it's not ready or that they needed to adjust some things one way or another. Ultimately, though, they've made a bet here that delaying it again is going to make them more money somehow. So we'll see.
Right. Brandon, is this a case of it's a broken game, it just needs a little bit more time, or is this a shareholder thing?
Honestly, I think this game was kind of in a bad state, based off of what we saw sometime last year, and I think some of the response to what we saw last year was kind of ringing in Ubisoft's ear. I think that the extra time is much needed, but I think if there are fundamental problems or lackluster showing from the game itself, that's not going to be fixed in the amount of time that it's taken to be delayed. So, what's going to come out is going to come out. I certainly think they will have added a lot more polish. Ideally, they will maybe have updated some of the features and cleaned up the UI at best. But I saw something on Twitter that was like, Ubisoft is so afraid of going bankrupt that they're actually going to finish a game. And I thought that was really funny. So, yeah, we'll see how it turns out. I don't think the amount of time that they've delayed it will ultimately make that much of a difference to the final product. Not to say that the delays weren't merited necessarily, but I think the core of the game will still stand up to itself. Even one of the most failure of titles critically, because of the marring performance issues, Assassin's Creed Unity still sold about 10 million copies, which is absolutely insane. I'm seeing here that Mirage, which was the last iteration in the Assassin's Creed world, albeit a smaller release and more of a throwback, as of January, so about a year ago, it had sold about 5 million copies. So Ben kind of hit it on the head here. I think that they know that this is a very big IP. So even though I think they are taking some time to polish, the point I'm trying to make is that I really think this is to kind of instill confidence in the people that are kind of paying the bills because they are publicly traded. So I don't think that this amount of development time will ultimately change the product, but we'll see. I want it to be good. I know this is a setting that people have been asking for a long time, as you mentioned, Dave. I'm a large fan of Japanese culture, and Ben even touched on this, that there's been some weird undertones of not even necessarily like non-accurate character portrayals, but moreover like them not necessarily taking too much of an interest in accurately portraying the history that they're trying to portray to Japanese culture. So that I feel like is kind of an oversight if that seems to come out in that state. But I don't know. Ultimately, we don't know everything about this game until release, and time will tell. But either way, guys, I'm not. This is going to be a win for Ubisoft, I think, unless it comes out completely broken. If they can manage to hobble together something at launch, it will sell a bunch of copies. I don't know if it will break even, but if they continue to update it, the IP itself is so big at this point that I think that they don't have a golden ticket, and there's some faith they have to win back, but it will sell well. That's just the way these games go. Like they will make some sort of money on this. Maybe not as much as they're hoping, but I think Ubisoft is smart for taking their time. But they would have had to have a year or more delay for me to think that they're making like meaningful changes. So
Yeah, a month can't mean a huge difference, and there have been rumors swirling about Ubisoft potentially being bought. So I wonder what this sort of means for a potential deal that we may or may not know about. But in any case, Ubisoft is kind of at a crossroads, and as we've all been mentioning, this is a big game for them. They need to get this right. It's been a year where we had Skull and Bones, Star Wars Outlaws, we had Frontiers of Pandora slightly before that, and all of those games were very lukewarm sales wise, and they cost a lot of money to make and license. So this is kind of a make or break for Ubisoft. So I mean, we'll see fairly soon what it comes out as. But one thing I can't look past is Ed Cassidy in our chat mentioned this, but in the tweet I just mentioned the best reply of 2025 so far. Domino's Pizza UK responded and said, "Call us if you need help delivering on time." So good for them for clapping back in a pretty
extending a
solid
helping
way.
hand. Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah. Moving on. Tango Gameworks. Tango Gameworks reopens in Tokyo under Crafton, begins new projects and recruitment. Tango Gameworks is officially reopened in Tokyo under its new parent company, Crafton. Known for titles like The Evil Within, Ghostwire Tokyo, and the award-winning Hi-Fi Rush, the studio has resumed full-scale operations after closing in May of 2024. Following its acquisition by Crafton later in 2024, Tango Gameworks is now functioning as a dedicated creative studio. The company inaugurated its new Tokyo office on January 1st, 2025, located in the Sumitomo Real Estate First Building in Minato-ku, Tokyo. This reopening marks a fresh start with the studio aiming to merge its original development philosophy with Crafton's global vision for competitive gaming experiences. Colin Mack, a veteran with over 2 decades of experience at Bethesda and THQ, has been appointed head of the studio, focusing on creating globally impactful projects. So, fellas, we're all fans of pretty much everything Tango Gameworks has created. The Evil Within, Shinji Mikami is kind of a legend in the industry. But anytime a studio like this changes hands, there's always a risk that the identity of the studio is lost. So not only are you moving to a new parent company, but Shinji Mikami is also gone. So with Tango moving like this, will they continue to carry on making the games that we expect from them, or do you suspect we might see a change in identity from the studio? Brandon, I'll start with you this time.
yeah, I mean, I feel like the news of what happened to Tango was sad out the gate. We obviously have a bunch of people that really enjoyed Hi-Fi Rush on this podcast. I was excluded from that. I didn't really vibe with the game, but talented studio nonetheless. Filled with a lot of prospect here, but I kind of foresee them kind of breaking out and doing something completely different. As cool as it would be to get something else, Hi-Fi Rush or some more Evil Within, a lot of their titles have not really. I don't want to say they've been niche, but they almost have been kind of niche. I feel like this is kind of the metric for me. Like if I ask my brother or my dad about their games, like will they know what they are? And if the answer is no to that, then it's not really broken through, at least in my experience, to the like mainstream crowd. So that's kind of what I'm getting at, and that's kind of where studios really grasp at success whenever they're in the games industry, when they have mass appeal. And not to say that a game like Hi-Fi Rush couldn't appeal to the masses, but the reality is that it didn't. So I would love to see them do something new. Like I said, obviously there is a lot of promise in the studio itself, and I'm glad to see that they weren't kind of another product of the massive amount of jobs and studios that we've lost and continue to lose to this day. I just saw 3 or 4 more studios. I think Wario tweeted about it the other day that got shut down. I don't know that the story's in here, and I forgot to put it out to you guys, but some more studios just got shut down again. So to see something kind of raised from the ashes of something bad when they were kind of on top of their game is fortunate, because it's not something that we often see, especially nowadays. So yeah, I would love to see them do something new, and I kind of foresee that kind of the new way for them kind of being independent. So
Ben, your thoughts?
Yeah, you kind of alluded to this, and we talked about it back when we heard that Krafton was interested in them before, this actually was finalized. But I just don't know that this is the same Tango. Obviously, every studio changes over time. Some studios, sure, you have a few people who have been there since it was founded, or they've been around for 15, 20 years, whatever, and that's great. But when you have a company that puts out a game that, hey, people liked it critically, but the reality is not a lot of people played it. And of those people, even less beat it. And it was on Game Pass that most of those came through. So one way or another, that studio wasn't making a ton of money. They got shut down. And what happens when you shut a studio down? The people who work there don't just continue to exist without finding another job. They go and work somewhere else. There's a lot of talented people at Tango, obviously. And so when you lose a lot of talent like that, and you lose the lead on the most recent, some of the most recent forays they've had with Shinji Mikami, your studio starts to take on a different personality, I guess. And maybe that personality is fine, totally fine. Maybe it's totally different and still totally fine. Maybe it's exactly the same to some extent. Or maybe it's just they bought the IP and the name and the studio space they were in or something like that, and they hire a whole new staff. I don't know, and we won't know for a while until we see where this goes. But I do think it's worth approaching this with a little bit of hesitancy, because we don't know exactly what. Actually, I think we do know exactly what was in the deal when they bought them. I think that was disclosed. But we don't know exactly what they're going to work on next. And of that, who is still there? It's very possible that, between when they got shut down and when they got the interest from Krafton, that there are very few people left that didn't move on to something else. So you may have very few people that are still hanging out. So I think it's great. I want to see talented studios with cool and interesting IP continue to exist. I don't want them to get shut down if it's at all possible. I just also am a little bit hesitant of, is this actually Tango, or is this just a studio called Tango without the soul of it?
yeah, I'm interested. A quick Google search, because I was actually curious myself. I couldn't remember. So Ed in chat is saying about 80% of the staff was retained, and I'd have to do some more sleuthing, but it says here that according to reports, when Krafton acquired Tango from Microsoft, roughly 50 out of the 100 employees from the studio transitioned. So about half.
I think, yeah. And I think what Ben is saying, regardless of what staff stayed and what didn't, it kind of rings true, because like there are some studios where like there isn't a face of the studio, and you like to think that the creativity comes from all of the staff, but then there are others where there is a face of the studio, and Shinji Mikami was that. I remember thinking when I heard that Shinji Mikami was stepping away, that I really hope that John Johannes steps in as studio lead, and he was the creative director on Hi-Fi Rush. And I was a little disappointed to see that this Colin Mack guy is actually stepping in as studio lead. And maybe that means that John Johannes, who is still with Tango, is still gonna take a creative lead within the within the studio. But then I read into things a little bit more that concern me. There was a passage here from the article, original development philosophy with Crafton's global vision for competitive gaming experiences. When I think of what made Tango Gameworks great, I didn't think of competitive gaming experiences. And I look at what has made Crafton so much money, and I don't really see a compatibility there in terms of what I want to see from Tango. So I don't have high hopes that we're going to continue to get cool games like Ghostwire Tokyo and Hi-Fi Rush. But I guess time will tell. But when this sort of stuff happens, it can mean the death of your favorite studio, even if it still is the same name. So I think I'm with you, Ben. It's still called Tango, but whether it is actually Tango, I think maybe that left with Shinji Mikami.
Yeah, I'm hesitantly optimistic, right? But the only thing they have of their repertoire, the only thing that they retained is Hi-Fi Rush. I don't think they kept Evil Within. I don't think they kept Ghostwire Tokyo. They obviously don't have Shinji Mikami. So we'll see. We'll see what it looks like, and especially after probably some of the staff left. I don't know. No studio is ever going to be the same once their frontman leaves, but at least with if Todd Howard leaves tomorrow, there's somebody he's mentoring, that's going to step in. It won't be Todd Howard. It'll be different, but it'll still be Bethesda. Whereas this is just you put a mask on on the studio and put a sign out front that said Tango, and is it? We don't know, and that's all I'm getting at. Is I see a lot of people super excited about them. Is it? It's not. They don't have their old projects that everybody loved, except for Hi-Fi Rush. And they don't have Shinji Mikami. Is it Tango? It's hard to tell.
Yeah. And I guess devil's advocate, I will play to that only, boys, is that I guess almost every studio that ever exists at this point that has made games for a sizable amount of time is like that. That's just even we have Avowed coming out next year. I just talked to somebody at work about that. That's not the team that made New Vegas.
It's some of them.
It's probably some at Tango. Do you see what I'm saying though?
But look at BioWare. That's not the same team, and it shows. When you have the same team, it somewhat shows.
Yeah.
You have a constant ship of Theseus situation going on at any company, right? That whatever it started as, by the end of it, it's no longer that, even though is it still the same ship or not? I get it. It does happen with everybody, but I guess, I don't know. I don't really have a point to say other than, hey, hopefully they continue to make cool games.
And honestly, I'm in agreement with you, but
yeah. I don't dislike Crafton's games. I'm just Crafton's got a different tilt than Tango had, Yeah. That's all.
Some comments in the chat on this. Ed, didn't the studio head say that they retained 80% of the staff? We suspect it's about 50%. Alex Size twice. That studio changed entirely as soon as Shinji Mikami was out of the door. Derek O, willing this into existence, it might get announced next week that Hi-Fi Rush 2 will be the first thing that they're going to put out. And Alex says, I think Obsidian is a bad example. The Obsidian founders are still there.
Is it?
Yeah.
No shit.
Yep. They are.
Next, Ben, we got some Powerwash Simulator news just for you. Powerwash Simulator abandons VR version to support job security. In a post on social media, Future Labs CEO Kirsty Rigden revealed that the team is unable to support Powerwash Simulator VR going forward. This decision was made to support the job security of staff across the company, and instead of making layoffs, the team working on the VR version of the game has been redeployed on other projects and roles. This means that while the game remains available on storefronts, it will no longer receive any further updates, support, or DLC. You must be so disappointed. In the post on Twitter, Rigden wrote, I am so sorry to let you know that we won't be continuing support of Powerwash Simulator VR. We absolutely love and believe in VR, so this doesn't mean that we won't support it in the future, but we aren't able to continue to support with it right now. Ben, you are the Powerwash Simulator aficionado. I guess the point that we need to clarify with this story is Powerwash Simulator VR is out. It's a game you can buy, but what they're saying is it won't be supported further going forward. You love Powerwash Simulator. Did you get a chance to check out Powerwash Simulator VR? And if so, what does this news mean to you?
I did. I spent a couple hours in it. It's not my preferred method of playing, to be entirely honest. VR is, I like VR, but it's not my, I don't want to always be in VR, right? But Power Wash Simulator in VR fit really well, surprisingly well, that, you actually were just power washing, which is ridiculous to think about. Other than, you weren't wet and cold and dirty and lugging around a bunch of equipment. You just had your, whatever, joysticks in your hand. And it was really cool. But I think what it means is basically, any of the DLC that they continue to put out for the base game on PC and consoles, they probably won't port it over to the VR version, etc. But I wanted to think about a couple things here when I suggested this article. And it's somewhat about Power Wash Simulator, because I am interested. But one thing is I'm interested in, is there money in VR? There's obviously some money in VR. But why are a lot of studios doing this, where they continue developing one product and not another? I don't know how VR development works. I assume it's costly, but is it not making that much money? Are we seeing it? Is it gonna, what's going to happen? I like VR. I don't want it to go away. And then the other thing is, I just thought it was cool that Future Lab, who I would totally apply to work for, except you have to be a current resident or have a visa to work in the UK. But when you apply, and I don't. Excuse me. But instead of laying these people off or causing hits to the company in some other way, they just said, we need to pull support from something to keep you on as employees before this flounders. And they made that decision, and they were able to retain those jobs. And I think that's pretty cool. I wish more people would do that.
Yeah, it always sucks when you lose support of a game, but in a day and age when we're seeing so many people lose their jobs and so many studios closing, it is nice to see a decision and approach like this, where rather than people get fired, they're just redeployed, and some good decisions are made. Brandon, you've tried VR. You're not a huge VR guy. What's your thought about this? How do you is it get? Just kind of a stretch question, but is there a game you can think of that you really like that you would be willing to check out a VR mode for if it was added to a game?
I think that VR is an interesting medium because most games I feel like could benefit from some sort of VR experience just because of the way inherently VR works. The sense of scale you get is unmatched in VR, and I feel like you could experience a game that you've seen a scenery from 1 million times, and it would put on a whole different meaning in VR. And I think that's kind of the magic of it. I think Ben kind of touched on something that's kind of interesting, is that not only is VR kind of a smaller market in the pool, but I'm sure it is very, very costly, and I'm sure the help you need to do this sort of thing is much more expensive, and the tech you need is more expensive. And I just think there's a lot of compounding costs to kind of maintain this sort of thing. So I understand when companies kind of pull this, because not only is the install base smaller from who you're trying to sell to, but the cost to kind of get it out to the market is also more as well, from what I would assume. So yeah, I don't want VR to go away anytime soon either, but I just wonder if smaller studios really could benefit from not exploring this space unless they have a lot of financial backing. I think that these big budget VR titles are probably the sweet spot and probably what most people are buying. And so I would understand how a smaller company would not find it as advantageous for them to kind of pursue something that is a bigger price tag. So, I'm glad to see they got something out on the market. I think it's smart not to continue to sink money into it, especially if they've not seen the return already. They're not going to see it in the future just by putting out more DLC. So, yeah, very fortunate that these people did not lose their jobs. And I think this game would lend perfectly, absolutely perfectly. In fact, I think a lot of these sim games, like the supermarket game that you and I tried, Ben, imagine actually stocking the shelves, or car mechanic simulator, imagine actually turning a wrench, right? So I think that there's a lot of promise, but yeah, like I said, I just think it's probably a big budget at this point, and maybe until the technology catches up in such a way that it can be more cost effective, I think we'll continue to kind of see VR stick to the big boys, or people that have really large passion for VR and not a game that's been ported. So
Yeah, it's we also got to think of VR in sort of the other ways that it's used, and I think Ben, you mentioned this before, but it's used as an education. I work at a college, and we actually have like a welding lab at school that uses VR welding equipment, just because it's a good way to get first year's experience in a simulation environment where they're not going to hurt themselves. So I think there's a lot of other applications, and I think a lot of developers are finding their way away from the entertainment side of VR and more to the more practical uses. But I agree. I think about a game like the Batman game that just came out late last year, and that was developed by a studio called Camouflage. And I look at that game and I think, it's licensed, it's Batman. It's on Meta exclusively, I think. And I'm wondering, like,
Quest 3 specifically.
Quest 3. Did this studio Camouflage just come up with this idea one day and say, we're going to make this really cool Batman VR game? Or did Meta go to them and contract them to make a game so they could sell their headsets? Because I kind of think it's probably the latter, because I don't know how many people are buying these things for entertainment purposes. But at the same time, maybe that's an opportunity, Brandon, for some of those small studios, because the market isn't really that crowded, and people have bought these things, so there's people out there who want to play new and exciting things. So it's really an interesting sort of niche part of the video game industry right now. But yeah, it's not surprising to see smaller studios like this drop support for something. The one thing I did want to okay, there, Ed just confirmed that Camouflage is owned by Oculus. Ben, when I didn't realize that Powerwash Simulator had VR, and I'm not a VR person. It hurts my eyes, and I've always found the hand stuff to be very cumbersome. But the one thing where I feel like VR could be cool is something like Powerwash Simulator, where like all you really have to do is hold the nozzle and aim. So there's no grabbing, there's no moving or anything like that. It's just kind of slow movement, and I could see that really working well. I don't have a VR headset, but if I did, I'd be curious to check out Powerwash Simulator. But yeah,
it is interesting because in Powerwash Simulator, you actually like wear a belt, not in real life, in the game, that has all the attachments on it. So, if you need a wider nozzle, a shorter, longer stick, I don't know what they're called, nozzle, I guess. If you need a different type of nozzle, if you need soap or whatever, you like reach down to your belt and turn it around till you get to that spot and then pull it off and attach it. But for the most part, yeah, you're just click, aim, and that's it. It's very simple. And you're right about that Arkham game. That definitely moved units. I don't know if it moved enough units to make it worthwhile, but something else I was thinking about VR is that I know there's shorter experiences generally, just because of the medium, but people are very unwilling to pay, it seems like, for a AAA full release VR game. Like Half-Life Alyx sold well at $60 because it was Half-Life and it was very good. And it was, well regarded. But there's a lot of games out there that I've played. I'm like, this is a great game. It's $20, and if it were on console, it would no doubt be a full price game. And so that's an interesting dynamic too about the medium. Maybe it just doesn't have the user base it needs to yet. I don't know.
right. Yeah. Interesting stuff. Powerwash Simulator. We still have the main game, and it will still be supported for a really long time. So that's the most important part. That does it for the news, fellas. Now we're going to move into our 2025 gaming resolutions presented by Handsome Phantom, sponsored by Balls Guarana. No?
They are not paying for that anymore. That happened a long time. That was a long time ago, buddy.
Formally sponsored.
I still like them, but we're not promoting them unless they're paying us.
Sponsored by whatever Brandon's drinking. How about that?
On the Rocks, old fashioned Nom Creek.
Oh, I've tried those before. Yeah.
It's
Very good.
a lot. It's a lot better with ice and not
Unofficially, that's our new sponsor.
straight. Yeah.
Resolutions, bit of background. This was an idea I had a couple of years ago, and Ben loved it from day one. So we decided to keep it going. Where basically we were going to commit to 3 things that we resolved to do as gamers throughout the year, and these were things that maybe it was clear out our backlog or try new games from a genre we didn't normally play, or play all the games in a series, just something we wanted to accomplish. And these aren't necessarily challenges for ourselves, it's more things that we want to do. Think about it like a New Year's resolution. Now, what this has kind of evolved into is, again, they're not challenges, but we've kind of formulated them as bets, where each one of us has 3 resolutions, and there are going to be corresponding punishments, where if one of us does not accomplish our resolutions, we will have a punishment assigned by one of our lovely co-hosts that we'll have to do. As an example, last year, one of my resolutions was to play more video games with my wife. I, in my honest opinion, and honest is the key word there, Brandon, did not satisfy that resolution. So the punishment that I had to undertake was to play Fortnite till level 25 of the season battle pass. And yeah, I fucking hate BRs, so that was the punishment for me. So in this episode, we're going to cover our resolutions, and then in next week's episodes, we will present to each other the punishments for said resolutions.
If they're not completed. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What we'll do is we'll go around roundtable style. We're each going to have 3. So I want you to present in detail what your resolution is. And we do have a scribe. Poot has graciously offered to record all of our resolutions. And I don't know if he's here with us live or he's going to take this down when he listens to the audio version or whatever, but he will present the record of this, so there is no confusion about what our resolutions are. So, Brandon, we're going to start with you. What is resolution number 1 for Brandon in 2025?
All right, boys. First resolution. I went pretty strong with my streaming last year, and I narrowly missed a goal of mine, not on the show, but in general. It was to get affiliate. So my goal this year, one of my 3, will be to get affiliate on Twitch by the end of 2025.
Damn.
Which I think is a doable thing. Essentially, for those who don't know and those who haven't streamed, I more or less just have to meet a certain metric. So I think there's an amount of days you stream a month, maybe an hour value, a follower minimum, and then a view minimum.
Can you tell us where you're at on those currently?
I'd have to pull it up. I think I've met almost all the metrics but followers, and I'm very, very close to concurrent viewers.
So you're setting yourself up to succeed.
All my
so
other
you're cheating
ones,
again at your streaming
dude,
resolution.
Listen. Y'all had some bullshit baby ass fucking subjective ass things. Dave was an honorable man. I had some bullshit object. So I'm allowed to have you haven't. I'm backpedaling. You haven't heard the rest of mine. Okay. So I'm going from easiest to most difficult. And y'all can be the judge. If we deem one of my things not reasonable, that's fine. But also, Ben, what I will say about this is it's not wholly dependent on me, because I could stream every day of the year for the next year and still not get affiliate. So I'm leaving a little bit of it up to fate and a promise in myself and a hope for myself, but all of it is not necessarily up to me. So I'm gonna say that's enough for me, boys. I'm gonna get affiliate by the end of 2025.
I like it, Brandon. Just quickly, are you going to be like a variety streamer? Or is there a game you're going to focus on? What's the strategy in content wise?
The strategy is no strategy. I stream what I play, and sometimes that's multiplayer. Sometimes that's sometimes that's down well. I don't, like I stream what I play. So yeah, I certainly am a variety streamer, and I hope to kind of up the streaming game this year in general. And I feel like this is a good milestone. And like I said, the aspect of it not entirely being in my control is also good for me too, because it kind of pushes me to continue to like push the amount that I'm streaming, because the chances are higher the more I do it, right? And so even though I'm not putting a number value on the amount of times I'm streaming, to meet this goal, I have to, be consistent in a way. I have to stream consistently. I have to continue. So I don't know, boys. I think it's pretty good. I think it's not too bad. And I don't think it's too similar to last year's. I think it's just different enough. But that's just me. So,
can you remind us what your Twitter, twitch.tv/mostgloriousginger?
yes, sir.
Greek was asking.
Dave got it right. I think it might be in Discord.
Yeah.
Check it out.
I like Derek O's suggestion, the number one Deep Rock Galactic streamer. That would be pretty sick,
dude.
But can we get one just chatting /IRL stream a month?
Dude, maybe just chatting.
No, you have to sit on your chair like this and just
with my pussy shout or
hey guys.
I'm sorry. One cooking stream a month. I just make not an entire packet, like a whole box of ramen.
Yeah, take us to work with you.
Yeah.
All right. So, resolution number 1 for Brandon is to get affiliate by the end of the year on Twitch. Ben, what's resolution number 1 for you?
So I know these aren't challenges. They're supposed to be resolutions, but 2 of my 3 are challenges, because I was kind of thinking about it, and I've been thinking for weeks actually about this, and I am pretty happy with myself just doing what I'm doing, playing games and the way I'm playing. But I have some things I want to accomplish, and they're going to not take a lot of, this one isn't going to take a lot of skill, but it will take perseverance. And the first one is in Hunt Showdown in 2025, I want to reach Prestige 10 at a minimum. I'm currently Prestige 4. Excuse me. So that means I got 6 to go. And I want to reach it.
Oh, so already halfway done. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. 40%. I don't know exactly how many hours it really takes for each Prestige, but I've played 200 hours of the game. I mean, it's not just based on hours played, but I've played about 200 hours of the game since August, and I'm only at Prestige 4. So I want to just like hunker down, get way better at the game, earn more XP per round, accomplish more, and it will require some more playing as well, but and get to that Prestige 10. There's nothing significant. I mean, I think you get some skins and stuff if you get there, but there's nothing significant about Prestige 10. It was just like, well, where do I want to be at the end of this year? And that's where I put myself. So that's my first one.
That's cool. Your stretch goal should be to stream with Post Malone.
Yeah, he's in the game right now. My stretch goal. So there are guys who have played with Post Malone, who've played on stream with Post Malone, but they already had big audiences, and I do not. So
send him the podcast credentials. Maybe he'll join.
Mm-hmm.
I would. Fuck it. What do you have to lose?
Yeah.
Now, are you going to stream it, Ben? Like, I know your Sea of Thieves has kind of been your main thing, but are you planning
I have streamed it in the past. I don't always stream what I'm playing. It just depends on how I'm feeling. And I've not streamed much so far this year. I know we're only 2 weeks in, but I really haven't streamed much this year. Part of that's because I've been sick for half the time. And then of course there was, Christmas and everything before that. But, so when I feel like it, I will. Usually when I'm streaming, it's Sea of Thieves, just because if I stream Sea of Thieves, I'm lucky to get 20 viewers, If I stream anything else, it's like half or less of that. So the little audience I do have really likes Sea of Thieves.
Right.
But that game is disappearing. And I barely, that's the other reason, is because I barely play Sea of Thieves anymore. So yeah. But no, my resolution doesn't involve streaming the game. It just involves, I'll provide proof if I get there.
Trust you.
Yeah. You shouldn't.
Good.
If you trust me too hard, I'll lie to you.
Yeah. Ben's first resolution is to reach Prestige level 10 in Hunt Showdown. Hunt 1886. What's it called now?
It's called Hunt Showdown 1896.
Hunt Showdown 1896. That's not confusing at all.
Mhm.
Good. Okay, so my first resolution for 2025, just a couple weeks ago, I got the platinum in Hogwarts Legacy, and some of you may laugh because I know with you two and probably a lot of people listening, probably have like dozens, if not pushing hundreds of platinum trophies. I have 9. Now full disclosure,
I don't have that many, by the way.
I was never like a platinum guy. I only started going after platinums as part of a resolution a couple of years ago, and I'm not, gonna be a trophy hunter or anything like that. But point is, I have 9 platinum trophies, and I think it's high time that I make that a nice round number and get my 10th platinum trophy. And one of the series that I've always wanted to get a platinum in is Borderlands. So my resolution for 2025 is to get a platinum in a mainline Borderlands game. So sorry, Tales from Borderlands, you do not qualify. This is going to have to be one of Borderlands 1, 2, pre-sequel, or 3. And I also think it's a good year to do it because Borderlands 4 is coming out, and I love Borderlands. So
Couldn't you do it in 4 too?
I could, but I'd kind of like to do it ahead of Borderlands 4
okay.
coming out. Borderlands 4 is also coming out at the end of the year, so
Oh, that's right.
I think this might be something I do to just kind of get myself ready for Borderlands 4. So yeah, I'm thinking 3 just because that was the most recent. I own it currently. Well, I own all of them. Yeah, I will be honest, I'm pretty far through
That's what I was going to ask.
the Borderlands, but I'm at the shitty part. So like I've done the campaign and I started to do some of the map clearing, but then I was just like, there's just too much, and I dropped it. So it's probably going to be Borderlands 3, but there's still a lot to do. So, again, this is a resolution. It's not a challenge, but I just want you guys to understand I'm not taking a low hanging fruit with this one, but yeah.
Cool.
Derek, I almost got the BL3 plat this month, but one of them is to do all the side quests, and there's a lot of side quests. Yeah, that's one of the pieces that I hadn't touched yet. So, yeah. Cool. Resolution number 2 from you, Brandon.
All right. So, as some of you may know, I've mostly only played on PC for the most of the year at this point. And as someone who is a huge physical game collector, I'm thinking of games coming in the next year, and it kind of saddens me to think that I'm not going to be collecting as much physically, especially with first party not really being something that I feel like I need to purchase anymore, or that I can just wait and get it at a cheaper price. So one of my goals is to get 5 pieces. Now, before you guys fucking roll your eyes, just wait for my last one. My last resolution. To get 5 pieces of physical games media. I want to take a page from Dave's book. Okay. I do want to collect some old 360 games that I never got back in the day. I would love to have a setup in my home where I have a second TV where I can set up some of my older consoles to kind of relax and game at. Because right now, I'm a 1 TV household. So I want to continue to grow the 360 collection, and I think that's probably what I'm going to hone in on. As much as I love my PS1 and my PS2 and my PS3, 360 has a lot of good games that I don't own. A lot of good games that I don't own. And so Dave kind of inspired me, and I want to collect at least 5 pieces of old video game media. And I'm going to extend it to, it could be a new release, but I don't think I'm going to be buying any new releases physically, unless there's some really cool steelbook, and even then I'm not really a steelbook collector. So I would imagine that almost everything new I'm getting this year is going to be on PC. So I want to get something physically. So I'm going to say I'm going to collect 5 pieces of physical video game media this year, minimum.
Brandon, this is a resolution. It's not a challenge. But I'm going to ask you to put a qualifier on this. Okay. Last year, Dave said that he wants to play because he specifically didn't want it to be tempted, if I remember correctly, by going to GameStop and buying Madden 2006 4 times for $1 a piece. So will you put a qualifier on your purchases?
No. I don't think I will, because the spirit of what I'm doing is that I'd like actually want to collect media. So like it's not it's not ill-spirited, because I know I'm going to be going to show like collection shows too, and oftentimes I don't go with like the specific intention of collecting. But after seeing all the success Dave has had in getting old games and trying them out on old consoles, like I could put a qualifier, but I think it's completely unnecessary. Like I'm not going to buy junk. We could put that qualifier on, and
That's all I'm asking. Yeah.
yeah, no, and
I'm not saying you have to play them. I'm saying they're not
Sure.
games that you bought because it was December 31st and you were panicking you were going to have to, snort coke on stream or something.
No. It's gonna be gas, trust me, and I'll be showing everybody, and the audience can judge whether I'm picking up 10 copies of Sneak King or what I'm doing here. Although one copy of Sneak King would actually be cool.
Yeah, I was going to say
that is
I would
actually
let that.
cool.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, absolutely.
but
So any console, like it doesn't necessarily have to be retro. Like if you're picking up a PS5 game, does that count?
I think in the spirit of what I'm doing, I originally wanted to qualify, but if you want a qualifier, let's just say I'm going to try and pick up something retro, because I don't think there's going to be anything that I want to pick up that's going to be new, but I feel like that's kind of out of the spirit of what I'm trying to do this year, which is pick up some old stuff.
Right. Okay. I like it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Do you have a mom and pop video game shop close to you?
Yes.
Good.
Yeah, and it's actually ran by a really, really cool guy who we're friends with. So
That's key. As I said a couple times in the past year, this is a good, if you're looking for Xbox 360 stuff, it's all very cheap. In fact, so is PS2 stuff. But and do you have the old consoles kicking around? Nice.
Yeah, I do. So that's also part of it, is that like, I have these, and there's so many games that I have played that I don't own physically, and I want to get them in the back, on my shelf, because that's something I miss. I look at all my PS4 games, and then during PS5 I have like substantially less, and it's going to continue to get less and less as time goes on, especially now that I'm on PC. So yeah, I thought about it the other day, and it kind of made me sad, and that's kind of why
It says in chat, Brandon is going to show up with Destiny PS3, Destiny 360, Destiny PS4, Destiny Xbox One, and Destiny the Taken King PS3.
Tell me that wouldn't actually be kind of hard, though. Tell me that wouldn't actually be kind of cool, though, because it would be.
My friend Justin, who owns Eon Gaming, actually just sent me a GameCube.
Oh hell yeah!
Which I'm like, well, I don't have anything from my old GameCube collection, so I got to try to find, a few old GameCube games to play on it and let the kids play too.
Good. Well, Brandon, I'm looking forward to that journey because it's a fun one.
Absolutely.
Ben, what is resolution number 2 for you?
Resolution number 2 is all about Marvel Rivals. And kind of like Brandon was saying, this is something that heavily relies upon other people. The Hot Showdown one does to some extent, but honestly, you could brute force that one by just playing as many hours as you possibly could to get to that. But with Marvel Rivals, I want to make a resolution that I want to, at some point, because the season's reset, so it won't be maintain it. Season's reset and your rank drops down. At some point this year, I want to break into Platinum in competitive. I'm struggling solo queuing in this game, but I want to persevere. And I'm not saying I'm going to do it solo queue necessarily. I just don't have anybody to play with consistently. But I want to get to Platinum. It's competitive I don't like to think of myself as a super competitive person, but this game, for whatever reason, has brought it out in me. And so last season I made it into gold and halted there. This season I'm at the very bottom of silver. Like one loss puts me back in bronze right now. So platinum would be 7 levels above where 6 or 7 levels above where I am right now. But again, those ranks reset every season, so I'll have to keep trying. It's a tough elo system. So
yeah, the climb's really hard, and you can go anywhere from going up 3 in a night to going down a couple in like an hour if you lose enough for like an hour and a half. So
yeah. And then sometimes you play for 4 or 5 hours and you realize you are exactly where you started.
Right.
Which is a lot of fun too. So
sorry, can you repeat? So is it just to get to platinum at any point in time in the year, or do you want to? Did you say maintain it?
No. Not specifically. I said not maintain it because
yeah. So like achieve the rank of platinum in competitive once this year. Because I mean, maintaining it would actually involve him getting there every single season, which would be an incredible feat.
Which I mean, I would like to do that, but that's not what my
Sure.
resolution is.
Sure,
I just want to say I was platinum once, you know.
This is the same ranking system or similar that was in Halo.
It might have some of the same basic principles, but there's like all the way from bronze, bronze, silver, gold, platinum, grandmaster, something else. Then there's like, you get into the top couple ranks and it's like top 500, you get into that. And then it's based on a system where like if you don't play for a certain amount of time, there's rank decay. So you can actually lose your spot. But I don't ever, I mean, I would hope to ever get there, but I don't have any aspirations of getting there.
Right.
I would be hugely happy with getting into platinum, especially since I'm mostly solo queuing.
Right. Good. Okay. So, platinum at some point in the year, platinum rank in Marvel Rivals for Ben. Good. That sounds like a tough one.
It will be.
Both those two are difficult, Ben.
Yeah.
Godspeed, my friend. Godspeed. Resolution number 2 for me. There's a game that I have on my PS5 that I love and I think deserves more playtime. And I in my top games played on my PSN profile, sitting at number 1 right now is Assassin's Creed Odyssey at 121 hours. That may not seem like a lot, but I really bounce around from a lot of different games, and 40 hours is kind of, I think, my average for full price games that I buy. So 121 is a lot, but I would like Gran Turismo 7 to be the most played game on my PSN profile. So what that means is I need to play Gran Turismo 7 for approximately just over 40 more hours. I'm currently sitting at 79 hours in the game. And the thing that I have working in my favor is Gran Turismo 7. I put in most of my playtime at launch, and I kind of played through the vanilla version of the game, and obviously spent a lot of time on license tests, because that's just something I like to do. And since then, quite a bit has been added into the game. There's new menu books, there's new challenges, there's weekly stuff. And I just, every time, it's always the game I want to play second most. Like there's always something else. And yeah, I really want to see Gran Turismo at the top of my list. So this year I endeavor to play Gran Turismo so it is at the top of my PSN profile most played list.
Wow, beauty!
Yeah.
I love that, Dave. That the game's so good, man. I love it every time I play it.
And if I come across some money, I really want a wheel. And
Yeah, me too.
I kind of have a decent setup for it. Like it would still be on the desk. I'm not going to get like a rig or anything, but I would if I was really into it, because that's I don't know if you guys have ever sat in a rig, but it's a whole new kind of
It
thing.
is. Yeah.
It's
But
so good, man.
I mean, if I get enough into it, I might invest in a wheel, because playing on a controller is fine, and I think the DualSense does a lot for the game, but playing on a wheel and having the feel of shifting and having the pedals on the floor, I think that would kind of take it to another level for me. So yeah.
You can get a decent wheel for $150 or less. There's a Logitech, I think G29 wheel.
Yeah.
I don't know what the sale prices are like on like the used prices. Actually, I just said those exactly the same words. But you can find one of those, and I know that $150 still isn't a cheap amount of money. But if it's something you're going to sink another 60 hours into or more, just with that one game, maybe it's worth the price of one game.
Yeah, and there's quite a few secondhand around here, but it's just there's so much that can go wrong with those things, and it's really hard to test on the spot when you're buying it off someone from Facebook Marketplace. But yeah, it's worth the investment either way. So we'll see. But yeah, that's what I want to do this year. Gran Turismo 7. Brandon, your third and final resolution for this year.
Last but certainly not least, I saved the most difficult and time-consuming one for the end. Resident Evil was a series that I kind of hopped into at the end. I played through all of 7 and all of 8, and really enjoyed them. I understand and have played a couple of the other ones and know that 7 and 8 are kind of like outliers, and they aren't exactly like the other ones. Not only just necessarily in first person, but in other ways too. And having jumped in at that part of the series, I feel like I kind of missed out on some stuff. So I want to make it a resolution of mine this year to play through all 8 mainline Resident Evil games.
Nice.
I'm smirking, Brandon,
And we'll
because
see how it goes.
I had the exact same resolution.
Are you kidding me? No,
So it was. I have 5 in total, and that was one of the ones that I was like, ugh, I don't know whether or not to do it. And it wasn't the entire series because, like you, I played some of them, but not all.
Right.
So I just wanted to fill in the gaps, and there was like RE1, RE2, RE6 in Village.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So,
that's an
yeah.
awesome resolution.
Yeah, I'm really excited. So I looked online. I did some research about this. Some of them I think are going to be kind of a slog, but a lot of them are going to be amazing. I played a little bit of I played a little bit of 2. I played a little bit of 3. I've not played 1. I haven't played 4, 5, or 6. And I think what is it, 6 that's like really fucking a drag. I was seeing
6.
online.
And here's the thing: when I was researching this, Brandon, most of them come in at about 10 hours, but 6 is so much longer than the other ones.
Yeah.
So
that's
keep that in
that's
mind.
kind of that. I guess that's what I'm alluding to and why people are complaining about it. And also, Ed, Resident Evil 0, I will not be playing, or 8. I'm saying 1 through 8. I'm playing. May it be scribed into the notes, Poot, that I am talking about 1 through 8 and nothing else.
And you're going to play the
Revelations
ones
and
you've
Umbrella
already played
Corps
before.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I want to play 7 and 8 again. Like I haven't played 7 for years because I'll actually enjoy those the most out of all of them. To be completely honest with you, like I think I'm going to enjoy 2, 3, and 4. I think 5 and 6 are going to fucking suck, and I'll just get through them. And I don't think 1's going to be very good either just because it's so fucking old at this point. I think I may have played a tiny bit of it because it was a PlayStation Plus game. So I think I own it on PlayStation already. But 7 and 8, yeah, 7 and 8 are going to be great.
So are you going to play like remakes, or are you going to play originals?
I'm going to play whatever I can get on Steam, so probably remakes.
That's fair.
Yeah. So whatever I can get on Steam, I ideally will probably do a decent portion of it on stream as well, which will be a lot of fun. So I'm not playing 0, Ed. Fuck off.
In fairness to Ed, 0 is mainline.
That's
but,
fine.
yeah.
That's fine. I want to play 1 through 8. I don't give a fuck. And I'm not playing any DLCs. No DLCs. I'm going to, at the heart and core of the challenge of the New Year's resolution, gaming resolution, I'm going to play 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 being
Cool.
Village.
Nice. I love that. And
Yeah.
I hope you stream a lot of it because that's a cool journey. We started doing this a couple of years ago where we got into this like playing through an entire series that we missed out on or only had a little bit. And when you play a series back to back to back like that, like it's so cool. That's cool.
Yeah, I'm excited. It's going to be a lot of fun.
You should try and time it so like you're playing Village right around Halloween. That'd be
Ooh.
cool.
Yeah, we'll see.
Ben, what is your third and final resolution for 2025?
My third and final one, I don't have a quantity for this now, but I will. And I'll explain. You'll understand why. I bought a Steam Deck last year, and I've played it a fair amount, but not as much as I would have liked to. And I have a Nintendo Switch or 2 or 3 sitting around the house, and I play them occasionally, but mostly just exclusives. And honestly, that's okay with me because I have a Steam Deck too. But I used to love handheld gaming so much, and I've done so little of it in the last few years. And I honestly think it would be like, I'm always thinking like, man, I really want to play my Steam Deck, but I'm sitting at my computer. Why would I play my Steam Deck when I'm sitting at my computer? So just my resolution is to play my handhelds more this year than I did last year. And that can include both the Switch and the Steam Deck. Now, there is probably a new Switch coming out, and I assume there'll be a few exclusives. There were a few exclusives I played last year on the Switch as well. And then who knows what's going to be on Steam Deck. So I'll have I think that Steam actually gives you that data for how many hours you played on them. If not, I will figure it out somehow. I'll actually put a quantity to it, not just a feel. of did I play more or less, whatever. But that's my third resolution. That's the one that's actually a resolution and not a challenge for myself, is that I want to, I have these handhelds that I spent hundreds or thousands of dollars on total and don't utilize as much as I would actually like to. And so I would like to utilize them more because handheld gaming is so good.
Yeah. So sorry, just to clarify, you're going to come with a number.
Yeah, I need to actually calculate it. I thought of this like an hour before the show. It finally came to me what my third resolution was going to be.
Right.
And so I don't have that number calculated yet. I know you can find it. But I don't have it right now, but I will find it.
That kind of got me a little bit bunged up last year with the playing video games with my wife thing, because it's best not to go on feel. But yeah, good, Ben. Yeah. And as Derek points out, that's a bit of a soft one with the Switch 2 so imminent.
He didn't say anything about it being soft.
Well, he implied it.
He said good resolution. And I mentioned that. I said it was coming out. But honestly, if it's anything like the first year of the original Switch, I think I only played 2 games on that all year.
Right.
So, and now I played a lot of hours of those games. And I mean specifically, I want to play them in handheld. Like, I know I can play my Switch on my TV. I want to play it in handheld.
Is there a minimum number of games, or is that not relevant to what you want to accomplish? Because like Derek O says, you're going to put 50 hours just into Mario Kart. Like, does it have to be 10 different games, 5 games, or does that not matter to you?
No, it's just that I don't use them enough. Like, honestly, if I played, I'm not planning on doing this, but if I played Deep Rock Galactic for 300 hours or something on my Steam Deck, Deep Rock Galactic Survivor specifically, that would be fine. I just want to use the thing I have that I love playing.
You should be a real chat about it and just put all those hours into your Vita. Just play Tearaway for 120 hours. I would
count my Vita too. I didn't play it at all last year, so But I mean cumulative hours between any systems I use that are handheld. But I have multiple Vitas just in the room next to me. Nice. That I could play. And actually, there is a platinum I have like 1 trophy missing from that I might go get on Vita. We'll see.
Do you have the blue Vita?
I have a light blue Vita.
That one was sexy.
Yeah. Got it from Japan.
Nice.
A friend, a person that knew me that I didn't know lived there and they heard me talking about it on a show and they offered, do you want me to find you a Vita in Japan? And I was like, yes. So Dustin and I went in and had him send us Japanese Vitas with a few games. But I also have a original Vita,
right?
As well.
Good. So Ben, you're going to come back next week or sometime later with a little bit more specifics. But Ben's final resolution is to play more of his handheld systems this year. Cool. So my third and final resolution is I want to buy, play, and finish 3 different indie games this year. I spend a lot of time looking at indie games and seeing cool stuff that I don't think gets enough recognition in what we do and what we talk about every single day. The problem is I kind of look at them, I watch the trailers, but I've always got something I paid $40, $50 for that I'm like, I need to commit my gaming time to that. And I want to stop doing that a little bit this year by buying, playing, and finishing 3 different indie games in 2025. Now, when I say indie game, I mean like indie, and it's self-published, small team, and I'm not talking about like Balatro or something. I want to play something that's a little bit lesser known that might actually maybe some people listening might hear about it, and I'm not saying we have a gigantic platform here, but I think it would be cool to share some of those experiences, because there's a lot of games that get released on Steam and then disappear almost instantly. And they're really good games. So yeah, that's something I want to accomplish this year, is buy, play, and finish 3 different indie games.
Are you specifically committing to Steam?
No, that's probably where most of them will come. And no, Animal Well probably wouldn't count, because any indie game that's kind of hit mainstream, I'm not gonna count. I might play them, but I don't think I'm gonna count it as
even if they are truly indie, you're not going to count
exactly.
it.
Yeah. So like, I
Well,
just
all I
started
was
Hollow Knight, and I'll talk about that in a bit, but I'm not going to count that because Hollow Knight is just kind of reached stardom, and yeah,
what I will say, Dave, as a suggestion, not to your resolution, but as you play these games, these unknown indie games, leave reviews, because I think basically if Steam doesn't see at least 10 reviews for a game, they kind of don't care about it. They never promote it after the first week or two. So that's, if you ever play an actual indie game on Steam or any platform, but specifically Steam, leave it a review. I should follow my own advice in doing that as well.
yeah, cool. Well, that wraps up our resolution setting for 2025. We will put this all together. I think Poot normally puts it in text in like our Discord, but yeah, we'll continually come back and kind of give updates throughout the year. I think we usually do like a mid-year kind of check-in on our resolutions just to see what our progress is. But yeah, this is fun. All great resolutions. I'm excited to hear how these go. Good job,
Yes,
fellas.
sir. Yeah.
Now we're gonna end off the show with what we've been playing. Ben, we'll start with you. What have you been playing this week?
My list is similar to last week's. Been playing Hunt, been playing Rivals. Really loving Rivals. The new season started. The first official real season. The first one was season 0 when it kicked off. But so far, they've added 2 new characters. They've committed to adding, I think it was a character every 90 days or so, which is a lot, but also they've got such a huge repertoire. They get to cut out the whole, creating lore and costumes and everything for them because they just exist already in the source material. But anyway, Rivals is great. I'm still struggling through playing with unknowns, and especially at the lower ranks, you get people who are just like, oh, the game literally prompts you to play competitive. So you can click competitive and have no idea what you're doing. As long as you're level 10, you're in. And yeah, you start out at bronze, but so does everybody. So it's really tough until you get up into the higher silver, gold, and even then it's still tough. But so anyway, I've been playing a lot of Rivals, been playing some more Hunt this week. I don't have a lot more to say about that other than the event. The circus event with Post Malone is still great. The one thing I mentioned last week but didn't really elaborate on is Satisfactory. And this is, again, a game put out by Coffee Stain that we really like. We've talked about them a lot. And in Satisfactory, I didn't really explain it too much because we were kind of in a rush, but you crash land on a planet, or you get sent to a planet and you're exploring it. And a lot of the things that you're doing are just, you need to survive. You don't have to eat and drink like you do in a lot of survival games. But in this game, you have to continually build. You're trying to help build a civilization and see if the place is habitable for them to send other people to. But it's mostly a crafting game. And by crafting, I mean you're trying to build a factory. The whole theme of the game is automating your processes. So you'll start out having to handcraft like, a plate of iron. You dig up iron ore out of the ground by hand. You craft it into something by hand, and eventually you can create power sources, and then you can create machines that transform that steel plate into something else. And then when it produces that something else, let's say it produces nails or iron rods, then you turn those iron rods into nails. Then you use iron rods and nails and steel plates to build something else. And, you just continue, it just compounds on that. And I've seen some, I didn't really want to, but I searched for something on Reddit, and then Reddit suggested me things. I've seen a lot of stuff on Reddit I don't want to see, not just related to Satisfactory, but with Satisfactory, it some of the things that you can create, like when you get near end game, are insane. The factories I've seen, but I'm just loving it. I love the survival crafting thing. I really like the building aspect of games, and this scratches all the right itches. It's very much feeding. I don't know if it's OCD. I always say that like it feeds a part of OCD that I didn't know I had, but it definitely is. It's satisfactory. Like it, and the factory is the key word there, right, for the game. But it's also a play on the words because it is very satisfying to play the game. when you figure out the right combination of storage, of getting a mining thing that goes into a conveyor belt that feeds into a storage container that then feeds into a smelter that then feeds into a combiner that then feeds into a constructor that like, and you just have to keep going, and you have to find new resources for power, and you have to continually upgrade your spaceship, and you upgrade everything else. Like, it's just really cool. I like it a lot, and I don't know how many hours I put into it at this point, 30-ish, something like that. But this is a game I could see, progressing in a very long time. It does have a multiplayer aspect, I think, although this is very much a game where I will throw on a podcast or a TV show I've seen a million times on like the second monitor and just play and vibe out and just chill, because there's really no story. When you hit giant milestones, occasionally the narrator will come on and say something, and it's very easy to follow. That's not the crux of the game. It's just about building stuff and automating your processes. And there's been a couple times where I found out that this is actually what I was searching for when I found the other thing, but I found out there's a website you can go on and actually map out your factories on. I've just been doing it like in Microsoft Paint. Actually, I've been using Photoshop to do it because I just have it on my desktop, so just been doing it. But it's pretty in depth, and it can get pretty interesting. You even down to the point where you have to like figure out how much power you're creating and if your machines can handle that, or if you need to create more power sources. And if you create more power sources, well, how do you get the fuel to them? Well, you get the fuel to them by, putting a link in your conveyor belt with your biomass. Like, it's just, every time you want to change something, you got to change 10 other things. And then once you do that, and you can create this whole new thing automated, instead of having to manually pound, on a thing for 10 or 15 times to create one component of that. It just feels so good just to do everything the right way. So I'm loving it. I'm having a blast. And it, by no means is it the game where you're like, oh, this is interesting to watch, but it's very interesting to play. That's my games.
Awesome. Thank you, Ben. Coffee Stain published Deep Rock Galactic, which is the best game ever made, Satisfactory, and Valheim.
Yeah.
And there is one merch store now where you can purchase merch from all three games. I don't know what it's called, but just Google Satisfactory or Deep Rock merch, because it's really cool stuff. But yeah. Brandon, you've got something very interesting on your list that I'm looking forward to hearing about. And there's been some rumblings in the Discord about what this might mean for what you're playing this year. Talking about, you go ahead and we'll see what it means to.
Yeah. So, I'm still playing Baldur's Gate 3. I've sunk about 50 hours between all of my save files. I put about 20 into my solo save, and I put about 30 into my co-op save. I've now abandoned my solo save for my co-op save because I was doing the exact same thing twice within a matter of days of each other. So whether or not my co-op team sticks with me throughout the rest of the journey is yet to be determined. But if they end up bailing, I can then just turn it into me playing with their corpses. Well, their alive corpses, or me just then subbing them out for other party members and just continuing the file. So I like what I've built on the co-op file, so I'm just going to continue with that if they end up bailing. And yeah, nothing new to say about that. I'm almost done with Act 1 after fucking almost, way too much time. I'm almost done with Act 1. So, last but not least, I restarted Doom again. Yeah, I got the platinum on Doom way back in the day on PS4. I absolutely love this game. One of my favorite games of all time. I grew up playing a lot of Doom 2 and was enthralled and completely captivated by 2016's reboot. So, yeah, I'm restarting, especially with Dark Age coming out. What is it? The 23rd is the Xbox show? 28th,
Next
23rd?
Thursday, I think.
Pretty soon. And in the graphic for the show is Doom Guy. So I'm really hoping we'll get a date. But the spirit of why I restarted playing was because, one, I love the games. Two, I've never played them on PC prior to the old days. Like, I played Doom at 2016 and Doom Eternal on controller, on console. So I've been away from the mouse and keyboard, and I gotta tell you, boys, it hits so fucking different. It hits so fucking different on mouse and keyboard, and I don't want to detract too much from the controller because if that's the only way you have to play it, it's worth it. It's good on controller too, but it just is different. It is something. The Doom guy is him on mouse and keyboard, is what I'm trying to say. So, the goal is to finish Doom 2016, which I am most of the way through at this point. I have one super solid sitting in it, and I think I'm probably somewhere between half and three quarters done with the game. Yeah, I'll go right on to Eternal. Neither one of the games is incredibly long. I don't want to say I'm rushing through it because I'm definitely not. I've collected everything that I have reasonably wanted to, at least in the first game. I got almost all the bobbleheads. I think I've missed one, but I'm being pretty thorough. But I'm also not lingering too much. Like if I can't figure it out, I'm not gonna, weigh myself down too much because I've already played them. So, yeah, the goal is to beat both of those and then go into Resident Evil at this point. So I still want to finish this just because I'm already on this track. I'm not going to jump right into Resident Evil, I don't think. I am going to try and powerhouse the rest of the reboot and then make my way directly and promptly into the Eternal experience. So, yeah, they're great, man. They run great. They look great. I'm playing on Ultra. Frame dips here and there on the 3080, but this game is coded beautifully and just is mostly just really, really consistent and good looking. So yeah, I fucking love this shit. It still slaps to this day. 2016 is my favorite of the two. So
Nice. So Doom straight into Resident Evil. Do you want like a palate cleanser like Animal Crossing or Gris or something in there?
No.
Okay.
No. We will rip and tear until it is done. So yeah, I'm really into the viscera. I'm that kind of guy.
So sorry, do you have or are you getting the Platinum in Eternal? Or are you just playing through them?
I'm playing them on PC, so I'm not going to 100% them.
Okay.
I do have the Platinum for
2016.
Doom 2016 on PlayStation 4, and I can't remember. I'd have to look back through my trophies. My gut's saying that I don't have the Eternal Platinum, but I would have to check that.
Okay.
I think I just have the 2016 Platinum. Because I think Eternal had a lot of multiplayer trophies that I was not willing to do, if I'm remembering it correctly.
I think you're right.
So, I do think, and I will touch base on that real quick. I love Doom Eternal. A lot of people had a lot of problems with the Marauder. I thought it was an interesting game mechanic, but not a mechanic that I wanted in Doom. And I thought the multiplayer was great, but it's also not what I want to play in Doom. So, yeah. Good shit, boys. I'm really, really enjoying playing it again, to be honest with you. So
Good.
I recommend it at every chance I can get to everybody. I'm trying to get my brother to play it. I'm trying to get my coworkers to play it if they haven't played it. Like, I love these games. So
Awesome. Cool. For me, I've been playing Fortnite. Just as a reminder, I failed one of my resolutions for last year, so my punishment was to play Fortnite through to level 25, and I was able to do that relatively quickly. And is this what it feels like to be a sweat, Brandon? Because feels pretty good,
Yes, buddy. Welcome. How many wins?
No dubs.
Damn,
a few
dubs.
top threes, and they were not bot lobbies. I was definitely playing against other people, and yeah, I mean, it's battle royales aren't for me, and this hasn't changed anything. But like, you have to recognize what a quality game Fortnite is, and it fucking better be. It's made like $1 billion, but it's still just so easy to play, and no matter your skill level or what you're looking for, it looks great on Unreal Engine 5, and there's so much going on with like the licensed music and all the different skins and stuff. It's just there's always something to see that kind of catches your eye. One thing that I appreciate about it, the only other battle royale that I put significant time, not significant, but some time in, was Warzone and a little bit in Apex. And my issue with battle royales is it's just kind of looting and running through an empty map, and then boom, you get sniped and do it all over again. But what I was recognizing in Fortnite was there was a lot of other stuff to do as you're kind of moving through the map and finding a safe place to be. Like there was, just little side missions that you could interact with, and kind of NPCs that you could talk to, and a lot of seasonal stuff going on. So there was a lot of other stuff to distract you from, just hiding from other players or looking for kills. And as you mentioned last week, Brandon, there's a lot of opportunity to get XP outside of just getting kills. And I think that's what really helped me get to 25 so quick. So yeah, I had a decent time in Fortnite. I don't really want to play anymore, but it might be the sort of thing that I just hop into for a match every now and then. But
How many matches would you say it took you to get to 25?
Somewhere between 10 and 20,
Okay.
I think.
And you were mostly playing pretty passively because you said something along the lines of get somewhere safe. But that's the opposite of the way I play.
I'm pretty I found I would get got a lot of XP from the side stuff, but also just kind of getting late into matches. There was some times where I was looking for kills, and when I would see the little there was fighting going on near me, I got a lot of kills from just being a third mate into an encounter and get 2 kills. But I sometimes I just kind of avoided confrontations and looked for other stuff to do and get towards the end. So
nice.
Cool.
But I posted proof in the Discord, so I have absolved myself of failing my resolution, and we can all move on with our lives. The only other thing I've been playing, I played a little bit of Helldivers, but I have nothing new to say about that. Yeah, sorry, Derico, I was rocking the default skin the entire time. I wanted everybody. So when they got killed by me, they knew they were getting killed by somebody who had just jumped in, just put their daughter to bed, is just looking for a relaxing time, and you just got killed by somebody who barely plays the game. So the only other thing I've been playing is Hollow Knight. This is a game that I've been fascinated with interested in for a really long time. For a couple of reasons. One, it's a Metroidvania, and I think about the mechanics of the way Metroidvanias are made, specifically the maps, and I just have respect and I think in awe about the insane people that put these maps together and make all the different connections and say you can go to this area here, but once you get to here you have to go and get this thing. And once you get that, then you can go to this place, but then this place is locked out. And somebody has to sit there and plan out that whole thing and design that whole map. And I just find that just crazy in Metroidvanias. The second reason why I've always been kind of interested in Hollow Knight is just the visuals. Obviously, it was a very distinct art style when it came out in 2017 or something like that. And just the kind of characters and the setting and stuff like that, and the lighting, and it was a very visually striking game. And the third reason is I mentioned earlier how I kind of spend a lot of time looking at indie games. One of the things that kind of dominates Steam indie games right now are Metroidvanias, and particularly Hollow Knight clones. Or maybe clones is a bit of a harsh word, but games that were very clearly inspired by Hollow Knight, almost unapologetically so. So I needed to know what this game was that has spawned so many different kind of not rip-offs, but similar kind of games. So finally jumped into Hollow Knight. I do have to admit that I did buy the game before the Discord told me that yes, this is Souls-like difficult. I kind of thought it was going to be more of a just a Metroid style Metroidvania where it's difficult, but it's not super hard. And I'm only a couple hours in, but I'm really enjoying discovering this game. A big part of Hollow Knight is map management. So obviously you start the game, and in a Metroidvania, the first thing you want to do is look at your map. Not the case in Hollow Knight. You got to go and find the map, and once you get into a new area, you got to find another map, and you got to go and find a compass and all that kind of stuff. So I'm really enjoying kind of just turning off the part of my brain that needs to know where it is and just exploring and going out and finding what's there. Obviously tiptoeing a little bit because death is always around the next corner. So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting deeper into this game. I'm playing it on Switch because this to me is the kind of game that I want to play on my couch while watching a hockey game or something like that. So yeah, Hollow Knight. We'll see how long the honeymoon phase lasts, because I know it's going to get real difficult. But yeah.
Nice.
And that is it for me. That is it for us. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Again, you can join us on our Discord at handsomephantom.com/Discord. We do this every single Tuesday, 7 o'clock Eastern time on youtube.com/BenIsHandsome. And you can also get the podcast on free feeds anywhere you get podcasts. I believe we're up for non-Patreon members on Thursdays. And if you are a Patreon member, you'll get us on Wednesdays. I believe that's correct.
Usually like late Tuesday night, but yeah, Wednesdays.
And with that said, you can support us over at patreon.com/handsomephantom for as little as $1 a month. Definitely don't need to, but if you'd like to, that is something we really appreciate. Thank you, boys, for joining and putting yourself out there with your resolutions. It's not something that's easy to do, and it makes our show a lot more interesting. So appreciate your time. Thanks, everyone, for joining us in the chat. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Goodbye.
See ya.